Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Richard Giles with us. He is CEO at Stealth Bioenergy and Biotechnology Consulting. He's also CEO at AR Gental Labs and an adjunct biology instructor and professor at multiple colleges. We're going to talk about biotechnology. Today, we're going to talk about biology. We're going to talk about consulting and like running a bunch of cool startups. Richard has a cool and eclectic background, so I'm eager to discuss about that. But before we do, we're gonna talk about Podpire, which is the sponsor of this podcast. That's my podcasting agency. If you want to start, be invited to podcast. If you want to guest, if you want to find sponsors and monetize the hell out of podcasting, I can be your man. I've developed some AI systems to get you a bunch of guests, to almost automate publication, and to just make a fortune out of podcasts. That's apart from learning from smart folks like Richard, from networking with billionaires, and growing your own network into a $5 to $10 billion network like mine after 8 months into this. So podpire.com if you need help with that. Richard, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and about your companies?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Charles. Yes, to give you kind of a background, just academically speaking, I have a PhD in interdisciplinary biology, a master's degree in forest biomaterials, and an MBA focused in corporate financial management. For the last 20 years, I've worked in the bioprospecting for microbial technology space, developing technologies for alternative protein, bioremediation, biofuels, things like that. Several years ago, a few of us put together a consulting company, an international consulting company called Stealth Bioenergy and Biotechnology. We're focused on many aspects of the bioeconomy. So we have approximately over 200 subject matter experts now, top tier PhDs, and C-suite current and ex-C-suite individuals that provide expert services for companies, startups, and institutional investors.
So it's basically a platform. You have 200 plus folks in there. A client comes in with a request. You bill them per hour. Let's call it $200 an hour. And you take 10% of that as a platform. Is that the business model?
Well, we are kind of the front office for independent contractors. So we kind of formed from working with companies, other consulting companies, and we saw that we didn't really like the markups that they were putting on people's work, and the actual subject matter experts were not really getting paid the level that the clients were being charged. So we created our own company. So what we do is we find the clients, do the client interaction, build the teams, just like Nick Fury from the Avengers, and put together a team that can really solve the problem. And then we have a very small markup that we add to our experts as well. So it's much easier for our clients because it gives them one point of contact for projects. I've been doing consulting for maybe 15 years. And I've never seen a project that was just one expert. They're always usually a team of 2, 3. Many times it requires a lot of diverse knowledge. Maybe someone very expert in financial modeling, another one very technical, and then maybe someone really knowledgeable about marketing. So we definitely see a benefit of doing that for our experts. One thing that you'll find is many experts would like to either get into consulting, but they just don't have time to market themselves or manage projects, but they just want to work on the stuff that they're really focused on and they're interested in. And so we give them an opportunity to do that through Stealth.
Interesting. And so far, how do you get your clients? Do you do any outreach? Do you do some ads? How is that one doing financially?
Yeah, we've tried several different models. We've used LinkedIn, we've used Google, and we've used our personal network. And really, because our network is so large, our personal network is really the key component. Our word of mouth is really where we get most of our clients. We do have a pretty good web footprint, so we're across the net. So when people are looking for consultants in this area, we pop up. But really, the best way to bring in new clients is through word of mouth.
And for what kind of services can people pay you? Is there like some due diligence here? Is it for R&D projects? Where do you see the most interest at?
Oh, okay. So sure, we do have we have three categories of clients. One, startups, and they generally reach out to us for P&L or financial projections or help with fundraising, term sheets, soft introductions, stuff like that. Then industry will reach out to us. Startups and being a really major component, and then industry will reach out to us for technical expertise. Maybe troubleshooting or vendor vetting. That's less often. And then another major component equal with our startups is institutional investors. So VCs or maybe a pension fund that wants to invest in, say, an alternative protein company, they ask for technical due diligence. So we take a look at all the technical specs and deep dive into their data room, and then really let them know impartially if that's a good investment for them.
And then which industry do you see the most interest in nowadays? Is it agrotech, pharmatech, food tech, clean tech?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are really a few that cross over. So really food tech, so fermentation technologies, especially in terms of alternative protein. That's where we're seeing a lot of due diligence. So over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, there's been an upsurge in funding for startups and then some really major scale ups. And we've been waiting to see the shakeout for that, to see which companies would survive, which ones would maybe merge, and then what technology would be most competitive, because there's a whole range of technologies out there. So one thing that we really see kind of really hot right now are filamentous fungal fermentation. So mushroom fungi, basically, that could either produce a protein for a food or a specialty enzyme. They seem to be the next frontier of fermentation technologies, and everyone's interested in them. We have a handful of startups in that space, and then a handful of clients right now that are asking us to vet some investments in that space.
Right. And what are your projections and goals for that one this year?
I think that we've expanded on our knowledge base. We brought on some additional SMEs in the fermentation space because we know that is definitely needed. And we've brought on additional people that are expert in financial modeling, because we see a lot of startups in this space that really have an excellent technology, a lot of academic background. Maybe it's a university spin out, but really does not have the financial model that's necessary for a VC to make a good assumption about an investment. So I think we have a two-pronged approach. One is shoring up our financial analysis capability, and then also adding experts in this kind of emerging fermentation technologies, which didn't exist 10 years ago.
And what challenges have you faced with that business yet?
Well, it really is that there is sometimes we find that clients don't realize what they actually need. So, there are so many avenues for investment out there that have really deep pockets, and they're dumping tons of money into investments. And you can see, directly from some companies' websites that their technology won't scale. And the investors just don't know that, and they have no way of knowing that. And so, getting our capabilities out there and letting investors know that those tools are out there, experts are out there to make evaluations, that seems to be the biggest hurdle, I think, for us right now.
Right. I'm curious about mycology. You seem to have an expertise into this. Like, what are you seeing in the application of mushroom growth? Can it be for drugs and like immune system based drugs? Can it be for psychedelics? Can it be for meat alternatives? Where are you seeing the application of that?
Well, to give you just a little background, bacterial biology. So they are there are lots of techniques, a lot of fermentation technologies, a lot of things have been characterized. But if you compare bacteria with fungi are at least 50 years behind in terms of understanding and the utilization of these things. So this everything suddenly hot. So, I would say I've been a professional mycologist for almost 20 years. And I would definitely say the last 5 has been the most exciting because we do see a lot of the things that we talked about and I wrote about 10 years ago really coming to fruition. So, filamentous fungi, especially wood decay fungi, have not been characterized too well, but we do know that some of them are really capable of producing antivirals, new antibiotics, some really novel lipids and proteins, and a lot of nutraceutical work there. And then also all of the fermentation technologies that we really work with now are bacteria or yeast, so single-celled fungi. So there's actually a limit to the amount of, for example, protein that a yeast can produce. No matter how many genes you insert into it, you can only get 30 grams per liter in a big tank. And so when you go to scale, say for an alternative protein, you end up with these giant volumes that are just not possible. So filamentous fungi, these mushroom fungi, they're able to do, 100 grams, maybe theoretically 120 grams per liter. So just massive amounts of material produced in a smaller volume. So there's a lot of interesting things there. And then we see in terms of psychedelics, we definitely see an attitude change towards those because there was a lot of pushback up until very recently about the utilization of those. And they had a stigma with, that was attached to more of the reefer madness or LSD propaganda. It was associated with, the use of, hallucinogenic mushrooms. And now we've seen a lot of medical data, a lot of research has come out in the last couple of years that to show that there are some definite benefits in terms of mental health. And so because of that, we've seen a little bit of deregulation. So some areas, for example, the United States have decriminalized them. And so that's a good indicator that there will be some change in the next 5 years, similar to what happened with cannabis as well.
And do you feel this is the most exciting niche that you have touched in the last couple of years?
No, my expertise is really in the conversion of waste material into sugars. So, for example, in the United States, 10% of all your gasoline is ethanol, and 100% of that ethanol is produced from corn kernels. And because of that, it increases the price for food for humans and feed for animals. It's not sustainable. We can't meet the rate that we need it. But we could produce sugars from the corn cob and the corn stalk, or wood waste, or even municipal paper waste, things like that. But there's been some technological hurdles. A lot of the technologies that have been developed have a low yield, really expensive, and so a lot of my research is focused on developing technologies that convert that waste at a low cost to sugars. Those sugars can then be used, as a food for humans, a feed supplement. You can ferment them into ethanol or biobutanol or some other alcohol, and really make a real decentralization of fuels for one thing. So fuel production is usually highly concentrated, and food production sometimes is as well. So we can see a really a change now, especially these technologies, some of the ones that I've worked on, and others are working on, that can convert these waste into our new food source and fuel source. So that's probably the hottest and most exciting. There was a time maybe 15 years ago when this technology's called lignocellulosic bioconversion, that was really hot, but there were some major investments that into facilities that just didn't produce. And so it made everyone kind of scared. And it took about 10 years for everyone to start to come back to it. And that's because of the same people that are interested in fermentation technologies for alternative protein are sometimes the same people that are interested in these new nutraceuticals and psychedelics, are also the same people that are interested in biofuels. So we're seeing kind of a come together because a lot of those technologies are related, and that's been pretty exciting.
And you've been trading as part of that. So what parallels can you draw between trading and biology, and why did you decide to trade?
Yeah, I did a lot of swing trading options for years, and I thought, I really should get into day trading, and so I got my proprietary trader license from FINRA and joined a prop trading firm. That definitely put gray hair in my head. I didn't have gray hair before. Having those intraday swings is a little bit too much for me. I'm not that type of trader, I realized after good about 2 years of it. In terms of biology, the biotech stocks, it actually made me steer away from them because I'm really afraid of any of them that I'm not able to pull a lot of their data out and really take a deep dive. And that's because I do the due diligence reports, and I get to see really the detail and how sometimes something looks fantastic until you find that one data point that tears everything up, and it makes you nervous about putting any money into investing yourself. So it's better for me, it's better to stay away.
So you mostly lost money there.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's many day traders that do well. They're all stressed out, and they burn out very quickly, and
Yeah.
I don't think day trading is not my favorite. I'll definitely get back into it soon, but I'm more of a let it hang overnight trader. So
Yeah, it's like gaming. It's like replacing your gaming habit, sort of. But yeah, I've heard the same thing. It's very
yeah.
stressful. Now, being a professor of biology, it seems to me that would be pretty boring because most students there are not like entrepreneurs. They're mostly nerds. Am I right in saying that, or how do you inculcate them the skill or the will to eventually start a business?
Well, one thing is especially in biology now. I'm not sure how long it's been like this, but it's been like that since I graduated. A bachelor's degree in biology doesn't really take you very far anymore. All it really does is secure you maybe a very low level laboratory technician job, and and that it really is a driving point for me when I'm explaining to students that, look, you can get into biology and your career is going to be pretty solid, but you're going to reach a level that you're not going to be able to be the lab manager. You never make it past a certain point because there's going to be somebody with a master's degree or a PhD. And what you need to do is really be able to understand your value as a scientist, and that's by incorporating business courses. So I've really pushed students to use LinkedIn, search through the jobs and see what type of jobs are out there and what it takes to get them, and really to network and really understand, how to market themselves as a scientist, because you don't want to compete with, maybe a 500 other biology students that are graduating at the same time at your 30,000 student university, and you have to be able to stick out. So what that does is two things. One, it either makes the students want to, go further in graduate school, master's degree, PhD, or become an entrepreneur, and maybe they've come up with a technology, and then they see, okay, well, here's the pathway where I can get to do what I like and get paid for it, and maybe make, a lot of money, or maybe make a lot of change in the world and a positive impact. So you definitely can inspire students in that way, just by being a little different. And because of my industry experience, I kind of bring that into the classroom and make sure that students understand that.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you, Richard?
Yeah, I think the best way to reach out to me is through my LinkedIn, or through our website at stealthbb.com, and reach out to us there. And I'll definitely be happy to speak with anyone that has any questions about anything, anytime.
So much for that. I am Charles Cormier, your host of CEO Wisdom Podcast.com. That was Richard and Charles for today's podcast.